Okay, so this is not necessarily a trade video analysis, but it is kind of just a conversation I wanted to have about one of the trades that went through yesterday on the date of the NHL's trade deadline, and another trade that went down the day beforehand, which was the day before the trade deadline, which actually had some crazy action as well. Because when it comes to the players involved in the two trades that I'm talking about, it's so crazy to me just how the value of these assets align, because if you told me like a week or two ago that these two assets would be roughly valued the same, one of them actually just a little bit more than the other, I would have called you absolutely crazy. So, we're talking about the Taylor Hall trade because of course we are the biggest fish free agent to be guy on the market, got traded over from Buffalo over to Boston, and if you want to get my full, unfiltered, just straight up thoughts and reaction to the trade as it happened, you can check the video that we made about that. And we're also talking about a trade we have not made a video about. Sam Bennett. He got traded to the Florida Panthers yesterday, and it's actually kind of weird seeing Sam Bennett finally be on the move because we had ourselves endless amounts of rumors over the past year and a half, pretty much, talking about how Sam Bennett wants a trade, he wants a change of scenery, all that stuff coming out of the Calgary Flames news and media reporting outlets. But it's really ironic because recently, after Daryl Sutter took over the Calgary Flames, we had ourselves an article published on Sportsnet talking about how Sam Bennett, who recently wanted to get traded beforehand, was like, yeah, I don't want to get traded anymore, man. I like playing under Daryl Sutter. I'm going to stay here now. It's a better mentality that I'm having now towards the game, and I want to stay here in Calgary because I like playing for this coach. And then they're like, okay, screw it. We're going to trade you anyway. It's kind of funny how they could not trade Sam Bennett. The entire time we had the rumors coming out saying that he wanted to be traded, but all of a sudden, he's like, nah, I don't want to get traded anymore. I'm staying here in Calgary, and boom, he's gone. Now, I think Sam Bennett probably would have a pretty fun time going over to Florida because they're buyers now. They're one of the top teams in the league this year, which is crazy to me, but it is what it is. Florida has legitimately been a very good hockey team. So, Sam Bennett going over to Florida, playing in the playoffs, I don't think he's going to be too upset that he's going to go over there in that scenario, but he gets traded in what is a deal that I want to highlight here because we hadn't actually spoken about this on the channel at all. He gets traded to Florida, along with a 2022 sixth-round pick, in exchange for Emil Heineman and a 2022 second. Let me repeat that. Sam Bennett and a sixth-round pick got you a second-round pick, and Emil Heineman, who is a prospect who we will get into, but spoiler alert, he's a pretty valuable guy too. They just got themselves what is the same return as Taylor Hall, didn't they? And it's honestly kind of better because Taylor Hall was traded alongside of Curtis Lazar, who is a legit NHL roster forward, for Anders Bjork, whom a lot of Boston Bruins fans were really happy to get rid of, and a second-round pick as well. Huh. By proxy, does this not mean that Sam Bennett was worth more than Taylor Hall on the trade market? And this is what I mean when I say, oh wow, if you told me that this was going to be the case a week ago, I would have laughed in your face. Imagine a world where Taylor Hall, under the circumstances that we have had in the NHL, where this guy's going from team to team to team, scoring points somewhere, not scoring points elsewhere, eventually playing on Buffalo where he has an absolutely terrible year, and he gets traded for less than what Sam Bennett could get you. We have just witnessed a turn of the tides here, people. This is the downfall. This is just like every time you're having, let's say you have a stock. You know, you buy a stock, you buy shares of a company that you believe in. You pay a price up front and you're like, yeah, I'm going to buy this asset. I'm going to hold on to it for a while. If we make the playoffs, if we go far in the playoffs, then cool. But if we don't, my bet is this asset is going to develop well, and he's going to play properly, and he's going to increase in value while playing for my hockey team, and then we're going to sell him for more at a later time. But no, you buy, I don't know, Aerotine stock, and you buy it at a pretty cheap price. You give up Adam Larson for this stock. It's not the most expensive price in the world, but hey, you have this asset, you cultivate him, you play him in your lineup for a little bit, and all of a sudden, boom, he is a Hart winner. MVP of the NHL. Now, I know he probably shouldn't have won that year. I know Connor McDavid was really close, and I was honestly kind of on the McDavid train that year as well, but still, MVP. He's at the peak of his value. And you're like, okay, I'm going to hold on to him a little bit more because we think this asset can really be the driving force as to what makes us a good hockey team and an eventual contender. But no, his value starts declining, the price starts going a little bit further down, and you're just like, okay, maybe if we hold on to this stock a little bit longer, he'll bounce back. And if we're going to trade him because we're going to enter a rebuild, we want to gain back all of our capital and displace it amongst other assets, we will find a time to sell this asset, Taylor Hall, at a fairly valuable price. And you do eventually do that somehow. You sell Taylor Hall, and in return you get a few conditional firsts, you get Kevin Ball, a few other prospects, and the Arizona Coyotes then hold on to this guy, and they do what? Guess what they do? They do nothing. They don't trade him, they don't do anything, they let him walk, because of course Arizona does. And then Buffalo picks him up saying, wow, look at this. This is a free asset right here. We're getting him for cheap. He costs practically nothing. Let's see if we can go over here, get this guy, and try to cultivate him into an even more valuable piece like he was back when he was with New Jersey. And no, it doesn't work out. You sell him for cheap, and the price he's going for is less than what Sam freaking Bennett is worth. And that's not disrespecting Sam Bennett, but Taylor Hall was an MVP a few years ago. Dude, it's crazy how these assets can decline in value so quickly. And if you want to take a look at just how skewed this was, this is the word from Nick Kyprios talking about the entire Taylor Hall thing. The Boston Bruins' original price was a third-round pick until the Washington Capitals came in there and they were like, okay, we'll give you more than a third, Buffalo. Give Taylor Hall to us, not Boston. And Boston was like, darn it, okay, I guess we have to give them a second now. Calls up the phone, rings up Buffalo. Hey guys, so we know that Washington is kind of beating out our price of a third-round pick. How about we give you a second and Anders Bjork instead? But in return, you add Curtis Lazar. And then Buffalo's like, yeah. Like, it wasn't even that high initially to begin with. They made this trade the night before. They had no desperation amongst the callers. It just seemed like Boston casually just went out there like, yeah, well, okay, I guess we'll just up our third to a second then, and then we'll get this done, right? And Buffalo was like, yeah. Take a look at what Calgary got, for example. A second-round pick is good. That's a second-round pick. That is equal value translated amongst both of the trades. But Emil Heineman, the guy coming back, the prospect here, is a very interesting name. If you want to talk about hard work, hard on the puck, hard on opponents, similar to a Matthew Tkachuk kind of style, this guy, Emil Heineman, is your guy. He was drafted in the second round of the Florida Panthers 2020 draft, and even though he's not really producing all too much in the SHL, he's still being given that role as a guy who is going out there with a presence, with a vengeance, and with a very translatable game that allows him to be a pest and a very good two-way puck-driving force on either end of the ice. And this is a second-round pick caliber guy. Not the same as Anders Bjork, in my opinion. And besides, what Calgary gave up, Sam Bennett and a sixth, would seem to be a lot less valuable than Taylor Hall and Curtis Lazar together. Reminder, Curtis Lazar is not terrible this year. I mean, everybody on Buffalo is kind of terrible, but I mean, Lazar isn't one of the worst ones there. So the fact that Boston was able to get Taylor Hall and Curtis Lazar, two probably serviceable NHL caliber forwards, for Anders Bjork and a second, is just crazy, because Taylor Hall, I mean, this guy's value is declining fast, and I just can't believe we spent 8 minutes and however many 40 seconds something talking about this trade. My goodness. So I want you to talk to me in the comments what you think about this whole idea here. Sam Bennett being worth more than Taylor Hall, especially in a market where he already said he didn't want to be traded anymore. There's just so many funny layers to this story that immediately after reading everything, I was like, yeah, I kind of have to make a video about this. This is too funny to pass up on. So, am I justified in kind of laughing at the situation over here? I mean, I know I'm kind of taking the chops here. I'm kind of talking smack about some hockey players, but hey, at the end of the day, I mean, Taylor Hall, I doubt Taylor Hall is listening to a video made by some random kid in his bedroom talking about a trade that he was a part of, because I think Taylor Hall has some better things to do in life, like, for example, going out for the Boston Bruins and trying to win a Stanley Cup. So, I don't want to see anyone in the comments saying, oh, Lego, you're being too harsh about this or whatever. Come on. Just, it's all in good fun. Just some casual conversation here about some hockey things that I noticed. Talk to me in the comments what you think about Taylor Hall, Sam Bennett, Emil Heineman, the seconds, Curtis Lazar, Anders Bjork, and these trades themselves. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.